Remember that time that we bought a 1980s fixer-upper and renovated it for $70K in 14 months while a worldwide pandemic was going on and we were still working full-time?
Yeah, that was crazy. The first thing I noticed about the bathrooms is that they had carpet. But not just any carpet, stained, wrinkled, and creatively defined carpet, with a yin and yang linoleum pad which may or may not have protected the subfloor from moisture. The skylight above was once a feature, but now a nightmare.
There were sad faux wood cabinets that had all gotten water damage, poor repair jobs, and they were topped with your run-of-the-mill resin counters. The bathtub inserts were hazy from use, and the walls surrounding them were a fantastically outdated vinyl floral pattern. The windows didn't work, and the toilets were itty-bitty sized, which is my size. So that was actually a feature for me. Someone didn't strategize floor grate placement, and so this one had to be stepped on to use the toilet, no matter which orientation you went with. There were also some suspiciously placed beadboard panels next to the toilet as well as in the laundry room, and they were clearly either a questionable aesthetic choice or they were hiding something. But at least other than the hair clog in the shower, everything worked. So that's a win.
Nothing says luxurious like carpet in a bathroom with a regular cut floor. It's so good. Especially when the carpet's around the toilet.
And it begins.
To start the renovation off, we turned to the most obvious candidate for replacement, and that was the yin and yang floors. As Cromwell helped me lift up the carpet, tack strips, and glued down vinyl, this was the perfect opportunity to teach our dog why we don't pee on the floors inside the house.
Sadly, that vinyl did not do what it was supposed to, and water had gotten into the subfloor, which gave the mold a perfect home to start a family. Luckily, the mold was mostly in the upper piece of ply that was on top of the subfloor, so when we removed that, we removed the mold. We removed the last bit of carpet from above the cabinets, pried off the shower trim, and also popped the mirrors off the wall.
There she blows! The mirror be free!
Now that the walls are bare, we got out our cleaning supplies to get the grime off our beautiful floral print vinyl. TSP works great for this, and we could really see the years of filth being wiped away to really make those flowers pop.
While she worked on cleaning, I went to investigate the laundry room. The area was functional, but the louvered doors didn't open smoothly. The area had been housing spiders, and we were not down with the beadboard. So Cromwell and I commenced with destroying, and the beadboard quickly revealed its hidden wonders. Unfortunately, no treasures were found. This was only a time capsule holding a plumbing repair made eons ago, and the disappointment was real. Holes everywhere. Holes. Did you use your fists to do this? But don't you worry, dear viewers. We shall fix those holes. But now is not the time. A heat gun helped me unstick the linoleum from the floor.
Cromwell is down for a staring contest if you're up for it. Nope. Oh, you win.
On to help my itty-bitty wife remove her beloved itty-bitty toilet so she could finish the last bit of cleaning. After all that demo, it was time for a good nap.
Now, I know you live for this original floor print with piping details, but we can't save it and must, in fact, make it look even worse. To patch all the holes some rascally person from the past made, we cut the VOG down. I didn't even explain what VOG was. Did I?
VOG, or vinyl over gypsum, is a 3/8 or half-inch thick drywall with a pre-finished vinyl coating. This vinyl coating comes in a wide variety of patterns and colors. VOG is commonly used in pre-manufactured homes, mobile homes, and commercial spaces where water is of a concern. Seams between VOG panels are covered using trim pieces or battens wrapped in matching vinyl. And behold, a bath that screams 1980s chic.
To patch all the holes some rascally person from the past made, we cut the VOG down the middle of the studs and straight across the top and bottom. This gave us some framing to nail a new piece of drywall to. If there weren't studs for us to cut over, we added blocking. We also thought for at least a good 5 minutes about any blocking we needed for attaching stuff in the future, and added that where we felt it was a good idea. Stuff like the shower curtain rod. It's better to have too many blocks than not enough. Once we had all the holy work done, we could finally do what should have been done a long time ago. We cut drywall patches that fit perfectly into the perfectly cut holes, and even reused some of the VOG that had been cut out for the smaller patches. We patched the medicine cabinets holes,
You gotta have the proper attire.
the wall next to the toilet, and I don't know if you would even call this a patch at this point, since it's half the room. But after many screws set perfectly below the surface, we had solid walls.
Unfortunately, there was still a hole in the ceiling. We decided that even though we love skylights, it would just be better to remove this one. So we took out all the damaged plaster, corner beading, and screwed in a new piece of drywall.
We were also having our roof replaced, and since we were extending our roof eave where it was missing, and worried about the water damage sheeting underneath, we were having the shingles removed so we could do all that structural work. And since we were going to have access to the sheeting, we were also going to have the opportunity to do some electrical work in the vaulted ceilings. This is much easier than doing it from the inside, which we learned from the living room lights. The problem is, our roofers were so fast that we only had one evening where we could access the sheeting before they installed the vapor barrier. So in one night, we had to lift the sheeting, run new Romax to 5 different places, and replace the insulation. But we got it done, and soon you shall see the fruits of our nighttime roof labor. The next step was my personal least favorite activity, which is mudding and taping. But at least I'm doing it and making it as beautiful as possible. Unlike some rascally person from the past, caulking is one of those things that may not seem necessary. But let me tell you, it makes something go from looking whatever to prim and proper. It also makes the crooked look straight. While this is lipstick on a pig in a sense, we can still make it the finest darn pig at the show. So we patched, sanded, and caulked until everything was perfect. Oink, oink, mother.
Next,
What time would you say it is?
What time?
we could finally make everything look bland. And so we got out our Zinsser 123 and primed everything, even the wooden faux wood cabinets.
Now that we had finally taken out the 80s flowers from these 80s bathrooms, we knew we had to tweak these almost perfectly placed floor vents. Even our dog was frustrated that these weren't in the right place. We pondered if perhaps we could put in toe kick vents. And so I geared up to explore the underworld in search of the answers to our ponderings.
Below the Earth's surface.
And just over here is where we gotta get to.
After I confirmed our hopes and dreams could indeed become a reality, I returned to find Cromwell worried that dear father had gotten stuck. But I assured him everything was okay.
Toe kick that. Toe kick that.
And so, Cromwell and I went down below to install the new ducts.
I'm just doing some duct work. Hanging out with my dog. Hey, buddy. You helping? Okay, bye. I guess I'll just finish this on my own.
After squeezing bodies and ducts into tight spaces, and making many trips to hell and then forgetting my tool and then back in I went, we finally got the ducting rerouted and air was coming through the toe kick. Holy moly, that was hard. But a long day's work deserves a long slide. So we went on a beautiful walk to enjoy the park as a family. After our fun time, we decided the bathtubs, while still perfectly functional, were really looking dingy against that white paint. We hired a tub refinisher to come and make that almond color a brilliant white. This was the perfect time to get the tubs refinished because we didn't have to worry about overspray since there was nothing to worry about overspraying onto. We removed everything from the tub inserts, including the shower head and handle set, and then we realized we needed a plumber to remove the drain. And that's where things went annoying. Of course, in order to remove said drain, you have to have a special tool. And did our plumber have that exact tool? Of course not.
So while we wait for that, we turned our attention to the cabinet bottoms. It appears that the same plumber from the laundry room had also hammer punched his way into these cabinets to get to the pipes. Thanks, dude.
Now I don't know if you ever had a leak under your sink, but these cabinets sure did. This particle board was so swollen, and since those holes for the plumbing were made by punching through the wood, we decided to just repair the whole area. We enlarged the holes where there was sagging and added support blocks. Then we measured the bottoms, cut a matching piece of wood, and drilled holes where all the plumbing was. To get the board around the pipes, we cut the board from hole to hole to hole so that we could sandwich the halves around the pipes. To attach the new bottoms, we used liquid nails.
Now that the cabinets are repaired, we can finally add shiplap to the back wall to tie this in with the living room. We installed all the boards going up the entire wall using 18-gauge brad nails and then filled the holes with wood filler. We repeated the same process in the laundry room because the back wall was rough, and if we are going to spend time fixing a wall, why not put that effort towards an accent wall instead of a ton of boring, dusty plasterwork?
Once we had all the shiplap installed, we caulked the edges of the boards to marry them to the surrounding walls, since those shadow lines don't look great. We left the bottom board off because we had a plan forming in our minds for those counters. By this point, the plumber had gotten the tool and removed the drain, so now the tub refinisher could come in and do their thing. They were pleasantly surprised that they didn't have to worry about overspray getting on anything important, which made their job easier, and they thanked us. This was planned very much on purpose. If the refinisher doesn't have to mask anything precisely or worry about overspray, then we have removed all the obstacles that could be in the way of an otherwise perfect job. But now, it was our responsibility to worry about overspray. So we masked off the tub and sprayed the walls white. We also sprayed the laundry area while we had white loaded in the sprayer. When that was dry, we could then mask off the white and spray the bathroom cabinets gray. The paint finally covered up all our patches and caulk, and it was looking so much better. So clean.
Up till now, we had been unsure of what we were going to do with the countertops. These counters and the sinks were in perfect condition, other than their finish being worn. We had gotten a quote to refinish the sinks at the same time as the tubs, but the cost was comparable to the cost of a replacement sink, so we opted to rip out the sinks and replace them later.
Carrara marble was really popular at the time, and since marble is white and gray, it fit into our color scheme. The problem is, we will eventually do a complete renovation on these bathrooms, and we didn't want to spend money on high-end countertops that will eventually be ripped out. So we looked into finishing the counters with resin epoxy applied to emulate marble. When we saw the process to do that, I thought to myself, is there a more controlled way to get that look? And that's when I thought about using adhesive-backed vinyl. We ordered some and did a test on a board, and since it worked, we proceeded with ripping everything off the counters, including the backsplashes, and covering the entire countertop with the vinyl. This product is good for renters because it's meant to temporarily change the appearance of countertops. It was extremely difficult to apply the first time around, despite using extreme care. So be warned if you try this. There will be some hair pulling before the project is completed. I actually had to scrap my first attempt and restart, but the second time went way better. I used a combo of a spatula and microfiber gloves to press the product down and poked any air bubbles with an X-Acto knife to release the air. To form the vinyl around the curves, I used a heat gun and made sure on the second pass to not get too close with the heat. The vinyl stretches enough to go around the sink opening and into the faucet holes, and I glued it on the underside to make sure it wouldn't budge. I also applied the vinyl to the backsplash and was able to get it to wrap completely around the sides with some careful heat gunning and persuasion, and maybe some sweet talking / sailor mouth. The vinyl has an opaque and glossy appearance, which wasn't really our style. So to remedy this, as well as provide a layer of protection, we covered the vinyl with epoxy. This epoxy is specifically designed for countertops. It's durable, food safe, and specifically formulated for doing flood coats, which is when you pour the epoxy over a flat surface. We masked off the counter and placed the unmixed epoxy by our new toe kick heater vents to make them less viscous, then primed the vinyl to ensure complete adhesion. Once that was dry, we mixed our epoxy and poured it over the counters and backsplash pieces. To get an even distribution, a notched trowel helps spread the epoxy evenly. The epoxy was allowed to drip over the edge and fall onto the plastic below so that the edges were sealed. We used our blowtorch to pop all the bubbles that rose to the surface, and we were very careful to not let that flame linger anywhere. I babysat the epoxy for about 2 hours and kept torching and scraping epoxy from the bottom of the counter until it was set up. The next day, we sanded the top to remove any inconsistencies and removed the bumps on the bottom of the counter. We repeated the process a second time to get a nice thick coat. To give the marble that translucent feel, we sanded the counters from 80 up to 400 grit, which gave them a satin sheen and softened the appearance. We had a small budget to do this faux marble and epoxy look over our 2-bathroom counters, as well as the kitchen, and it was a great way for us to get the look we wanted while saving money to go towards the later renovation. We can also sand out any scratches that might appear in the future. Now, this was the point where we could start putting the rooms together and progress cranks up to light speed. The windows have been repaired and painted, and that Romex we installed while the roof was being done was to control the new light exhaust fan combo. This unit also has a sensor to automatically turn on the fan when humidity levels get high.
Fancy pants. We installed the floor so that we could install the baseboard and brand new regular human-sized toilets. And then we caulk the toilet and tub to prevent water from getting below the floor. Since we aren't fans of the punched-out openings around plumbing, we cleaned up the laundry hookups box and installed shiny new pipe collars around all the copper because the rust look doesn't work well here. To replace the storage that was above the washer and dryer, we opted for stained wood floating shelves. We painted and reinstalled the louvered doors and made sure they opened and closed smoothly. We fixed the front of the damaged cabinet doors by adding a fresh piece of ply and painted them in the garage with our sprayer. The cabinet and drawer bottoms got some white adhesive backed vinyl for additional protection and easier maintenance, and new handles and pulls were installed. We mounted black curtain rods, door stops, towel bars, faucets, and shower sets to match the black hardware in the rest of the house. The frameless mirrors were replaced with black framed round mirrors, and we mounted the new sinks up under those sinkholes.
Even though we didn't change or move anything in these bathrooms and laundry area, the transformation is still enormous. We didn't think the yin-yang carpet, almond showers, and worn, damaged cabinets made for a very pleasant experience. Every surface just felt dirty. The rooms feel much brighter and clean, and that's some of the effects the Farmhouse Modern aesthetic gives you. The spaces function exactly the same as they did before, but using them now feels so much nicer.
We have enjoyed making this renovation series for you all, but we are struggling to find our footing on our YouTube journey.
Please comment below to let us know if you like the series and if there's something in our builds that you wish you could see more of. We are making these videos to share with you and want to know what you want to see.
There are many ways to renovate a laundry area or bathroom, but this is just our 2 cents on how we turn these outdated 80s wet rooms into Farmhouse Modern style rooms.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye. Coming up next, we will tackle the most expensive room of the house,
The kitchen.
Check out the description below for more videos on this renovation.